All right, what's good, YouTube? This is BoxingWave, and we are back. Good to be live again, man. I miss being alive. I've been really busy lately, but we are back, man. We gotta have a lot to cover this video here. All right. We're gonna start out with talking about Mikey Garcia and him retiring. All right, at 34 years old. Very good career. I believe a 4 division champion. And we're going to start off talking about him. And then we're going to just review the entire year of boxing. We're going to go through all of the best, the ups and downs of the year. And we also going to go do some pound for pound talk as well. All right, so it's got a lot to cover. It's going to be a long night, but it should be a good video, man. Um, I hope everyone's having a good week. I just did the breakdown for uh the fight this weekend, the Breeders' fight. So be sure to check out that breakdown. I just posted up today. I also did the Derek Chisora Krupa Pulev rematch breakdown. Just haven't uploaded it yet. I'm gonna put it out tomorrow. Now, the reason why I didn't put it out yet is because I'm just now doing this. But be on the lookout. I'm gonna probably upload that first thing in the morning. All right. Shout out to everyone that's here. Shout out to Aaron. I saw your comment about the fight, that you're going to the fight this weekend. I hope you have a good time, man. It should be a really good fight, and I'm gonna probably cover the fight live. Obviously, you won't be able to watch it, but enjoy the fight. Enjoy going to fight. It feels good that we can get to go back and see fights again. You know, I just went to my first fight. The 2 weeks back to back. I went to the Showtime card during the Hall of Fame weekend, and I also went to the Joe Smith Jr. Arthur Beterbiev fight. All right. So it's good. It's good. We had a great year in boxing, man. And I can't wait to talk about everything that's been going on, because as I was going week by week and seeing what was happening this year in boxing, there was a lot of fights. There's a lot of moments that I actually forgot. So I'm glad I did the research before making this video, because I had to make a long list of fights that I actually forgot that went down this year. All right. Shout out to Phil Booker. Deuce, what's up? CMP, was good with you? Jonathan Robinson, what's happening? Happy 4th. Yeah, happy 4th of July weekend for everybody that's here, that's going to be celebrating. Just be careful, be safe out there, and just have a good time. It's just a long holiday weekend. All right. What's up, Del Flex One? What's my best punch? Um, Old school punch right in the face. That's all I gotta say. Old school right hand punch right in the face. That's my favorite punch. Just right in the face. You know, you talking too much, punch you right in the face. Now, I haven't gotten to an actual fight in a long time, but when I was young, I used to fight all the time. But that's my favorite punch right in the face. That's it. So let's talk about Mikey Garcia. Let's start off this with Mikey Garcia, who's retired, officially retired, okay, and had a good career. Had a good career. 3-4 division champ. Didn't look well in his last fight. He lost to Sandor Martin. It was a big upset. It was one of the biggest upsets of the year last year. All right. And he's gone, man. He's gone. And you know what? I've been covering Mikey Garcia since I had this channel. Okay. I've been following him for a long time. I've been following him, his brother. Um, you know, I he had a good career, but I feel like it's a little underwhelming. And I say that because, yes, he's been unified. He's won championships in different divisions. Um, it's just that I think he had so much more potential. There are so many fights, as I watched him throughout his career. There were so many fights that I wanted to see that I just didn't get. And the fights that we did get with Juan Ma, which was a good fight. Salido was a good fight. Easter Jr. was a good fight. Adrian Broner was a good fight. Spence, I hated that fight because I thought it was a mismatch from jump. I didn't know what the hell. Sergey Limpias was a good win. He won a title up there. I'm scrolling down here. There's some good fights in there. You know what I'm saying? One of my favorite knockouts that he had was or the stoppages, the wins he had, it was against Roman, against Martinez. Those are all good wins. They're all good wins. He was a star. Um, I like him. I love his technical ability. I like watching. I was looking forward to watching his fights on HBO. And he was good. Had a great career. And Aaron, thank you for the donation, bro. So Aaron says, Wave is the man. I'm hyped for tomorrow. We'll watch every minute of the entire card. Good for you, man. And I will try to jump on here Saturday morning. All right. But Mikey, good career, very good career. All right. The thing is, there are so many fighters that he could have faced at some point. I would have loved, and some of it has to do with the issues he had with Top Rank. All right, because he went a good 2-3 years. He went 2 years, 2.5 years without a fight. All right, and listen, there were interviews, and I brought this up before. I actually tweeted this the other day. I heard interviews of Mikey talking about boxing, and there was always things that made me know like his heart wasn't really in it. He wasn't that hungry. He's the type of fighter that fought because the money was there and he was good. He was very good, but he just didn't have the ambition to really be at the top. You know what I'm saying? He's that guy that we just knew he was really good, but we didn't really see him prove it. I wanted to see him fight Gamboa at one point. That was one of my fights that I wanted to see so bad. Just like I wanted Gamboa and Juan Ma to fight each other, before Juan Ma got derailed by Orlando Salido. That was a fight that I wanted to see at one point. Like at some point, I started saying to myself, Gamboa this was before Gamboa was lost to Bud. Obviously, I wanted to see that fight. I wanted to see when Mikey came back, or at some point, I wanted to see him fight a Jorge Linares. I wanted to see him fight Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? There were fights that I wanted to see that I just didn't get. And then when he won at 140, it was like there was so many fighters there at the time. You got all of these guys that was involved in the Super World Boxing Super Series, and all of those guys, he didn't fight any of them. Now he fought some good fighters. Jesse Vargas was a good win. But it just I don't have there's not a signature win on there that made me feel like, yo, you finally gave me the fight that I always wanted to see. And that's all I can really say. His passion just wasn't for it. I remember seeing him in an interview. I seen him in a couple interviews talking about his passion to be a police officer. And with that, it was like, man, yo, just do it. Do what you want to do. Go for it. But I think the money, getting paid by the zone to fight Jesse Vargas, he got millions for that fight. So I get it. The bag was there. So I understand you want to get money where you're good at. But at the end of the day, as far as his resume, good resume, but where are those standout names? Those fights where we're not so sure you can win, and there's not a single guy there that I just feel like he beat that. I was just like, this is cool. This is cool. The Salido win was weird because of the nose thing, and at the time where Mikey was, or Salido was coming back, Mikey dropped him a bunch of times early, and then Salido started, just pushing back. And the fight started to become very interesting. When they had a headbutt, they had to stop the fight. They had to go to the scorecards. Obviously, Mikey was up big because of the knockdowns, right? But these fights, I remember watching these fights live on HBO. Martinez fight, the Burgos fight. I remember watching that. I remember when he returned and he picked up the wins and picked up a title. I love the Easter Junior performance, was a good win. The Sergey Olympias fight was good to me and one of my favorite only because of how competitive Olympias fought him. All right. But I just don't feel like There's no signature wins there. The Errol Spence match was a good money fight for him and Errol, but it was a stupid match. It was just dumb. It was a match that no one asked for, and I get it. It's a money fight, but yo, Lomachenko was right there. And I feel like Mikey didn't want to fight him because his excuse for not wanting to fight him was like, nah, I want to fight someone that could really test me. If I beat Lomachenko, they're going to say this. They're going to say that I'm too big. No, we're not. Lomachenko at that time, to many, was number one pound for pound. If not number one, number two, number three. He was in the top three at the time. No one was asking you to fight Errol Spence Jr. It was a mismatch from jump. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what people say about his boxing ability. Yes, his boxing ability is good, but there are weight classes for a reason. And you're chubby at 147. He was kind of chubby at 140. I honestly don't believe he really needed to fight over 135. If he gave us the fights he won, if he fought Jorge Linares, and if he fought a Lomachenko, and possibly maybe fight a Tank Davis in the future coming off those fights, then we would have had more to talk about. But Lipinets, cool, good fight. Adrian Broner kind of got exposed already, So that's how I feel about that. Let me read some of the comments. J-Man says, good, but not great. Yeah. Very good. Very, very good resume, but not great. All right. Phil says Mikey was getting talked about like Bam is now back in the day. So I understand you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like Bam, we were talking about them the same, but Bam is already, and I'm going to talk about Bam in this this video later, but Bam is already pushing. He's already knocking down the top dudes at 115, coming up from 112. You know what I'm saying? So Bam is already pushing to be great. He's already trying to get Roman Gonzalez next. This is what I'm trying to say. I never got that from Mikey. The talent was there, but we need the fights. We can't just say you're talented, you're one of the most technically sound fighters in the sport, yada, 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 but we're not getting the fights. We got to get the fights. All right. D-Flex says he lost his passion in boxing. Absolutely. What's up, The Awoken One? Was good with you, man. Do I think Mikey is overrated? I don't think he's overrated in the sense that it depends on who's rating him. Like exactly what I'm saying right now, a lot of people feel this way about him. So I want to call him overrated. As far as him being like a Hall of Famer, I don't really know. I don't know. Because yes, I off the strength that he won championships and he was unified before in 4 different divisions, yes. On that sense, yes. But the quality is not that great. I just came from the Hall of Fame and look who was there. The top 3 or 4 fighters, male fighters, were all elite level guys, so we got to be very careful when we talk about Hall of Fame. Now, I'm not saying everybody in the Hall of Fame deserves to be there, but it's very questionable. I can see how he can make it, but if he doesn't make it, I understand why. All right. The Mester says, glad he retired. You can't play boxing. Quit if your heart's not in it. Absolutely. Absolutely. He got his bag. I think the time was now. Like right now, losing to Sandor, it showed, like, you know what I'm saying? No adjustments in the fight. He just looked like he didn't really care, man. He just lost gracefully, just lost, Awoken One says, Wave, there are a lot of fighters who don't give 100% in the ring, and you can't fight anyone unless you are prepared to give 110% every time stepping in that square circle. I agree with you. Fotex says, what's up, BoxingWave? What's up, Fotex? Was good with you. Jamin says, I believe Liam Smith would have beaten him, in my opinion. Liam Smith is at 154, though. That's too much. Fotex says money turned Mikey away from boxing. I mean, yeah, you guys are all pretty much agreeing with me. D-Flex says, did he only box because of his family? I mean, possible. Yeah. I mean, it's a very normal thing. If you come up in a household full of doctors or nurses, you're most likely going to become one. If you come up in a family of police officers or or lawyers, attorneys or whatever profession, you're probably going to be the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. All right. The Walker one says, I know this is off topic, but thank you, Wade, for directing us towards Boxing Jim's YouTube channel. He's dope as hell and funny to listen to. Respect. Yeah, great channel. Definitely my personal favorite channel outside of myself. Nah, he's definitely my favorite channel right now. Him, Beats is up there, and a few others. All right. But yeah, that definitely, if you haven't, check out Boxing Gems. All right. So anyway, I want to move on and get right down. Let's get right down into it, man. Um, let's get into let's get into my top 20. I want to get this out of the way. I'm gonna give you a top 20 pound for pound. I'm not doing 10. I'm not doing 10 no more because it's too many fighters that are accomplished these days. What has happened in the last few years, especially in 2020, and I know COVID derailed boxing a little bit, but what's happening in boxing now is that the standard is changing. You have fighters that are not undisputed that's chasing undisputed now because so many fighters are becoming undisputed. All right, it's a marketing tool now again. And we've been asking and begging for it for years. As long as I've been on this channel, I've been complaining for years. I want undisputed. I want undisputed. I want undisputed. At the bare minimum, I wanted unification. I was tired of fighters just winning championships from different divisions. I was getting bored of that. I'm over that. I was just saying this about Mikey Garcia. It's cool. They're good wins, but you could be a lot more selective when you're just hopping around divisions, not unifying, not becoming undisputed. I want to see who's the best in the division first. Before moving up, dominate your division. Show the world who's boss. Show the world who's running shit. I don't want everybody to just, I'm going to move up to 140. I'm going to move back down to 135. Then I'm going to move up to 130. Then go up to 135. Nah. And I know some of the greats have done it. Floyd has done it. Picked up titles. Pacquiao done it. Nah, I want to see, are you really the best in your division? Did you clean out the division? Did you clear it out? Even if you didn't become undisputed over the years, there are guys like Kovalev, who was 3-belt unified. Ward, 3-belt unified. Even Ward down at 168, won the Super 6. It's like almost accomplishments from everybody. I think there was a point where Floyd was unified at 147 and 154, maybe at one point. Listen, those are all good. I love it. But prove that you're the man. Fight that one guy, that one belt, like that the style doesn't match up with you well. Not everybody does that. And that is the part about skipping divisions that make it makes it easier. Because Adrian Broner is a 4-division world champion. You know what I'm saying? He's a 4-division world champion. And who did he beat? Who did he beat that was great? You feel me? Oh yeah, I'm gonna start at 20. I'm gonna work my way up, and I'm gonna explain each and every person because I know a lot of you are not gonna like who I got there. But the reason why I'm saying all of this is because Undisputed is back, and it makes things a lot different. See, in the past, even since I had this channel, when I made pound for pound videos, didn't make that many of them, but when I did them, it was based on who's unified. I don't know. I feel like this guy did this. I feel like, no, now they're in the pound for pound for a reason. And now I have to narrow everything down because I've actually been forced. And I think as fans, when we talk about pound for pound now, we got to talk about the old way of doing it. We have to go back to saying, who do you feel is the best? because now we got 6 guys in this list that have been undisputed, right? Then we got guys that have been unified. We have guys that won titles in different divisions. We have guys that we think, given the eye test, their skills are out of this world. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to also add that not every division is as competitive as the next division over. You got to put all of this into account. This is why no one's pound for pound is ever going to be the same. You got to take it and say, this is the way I see it. This is who I think is the best guy. And then the next one and the next one down. And that's it. You know, and making this list, I literally said, you know what? I'm going to go with who I feel like is really the best, not on accomplishments alone. Because they're all accomplished now. You guys, it's not just one belt. How many pound for pound lists that I've done in the past where fighters is in the top 10 with one belt, one division? You know why? Because nobody was doing shit. Nobody was unifying. Nobody was winning titles in different divisions. No one was really fighting the best. If you are on the pound for pound list and there's a guy in your division that is possibly better than you, but you're more, you know, you got 2 and he got 1. Well, I still think that guy is better than you. Or you might have the better win, right? The single win, you might have that. But I still think this guy is better than you. So I'm going to put you higher on my pound for pound list. Now, if you have a win over in your last fight, that's a credible win. I mean, if you have a win in your last fight that I don't think you won at all, I'm not going to give you credit for that. I don't think you won the fight. Because robberies do happen in boxing. They happen. So let's get to it. We're going to start at number 20. Number 20, I have Emmanuel Navarrete. That's my guy. At 126, that's my guy for right now. I know he hasn't been at 126 that long, but he was the man at 122. He moved up, and so far he's putting the work in 126, and I think he's the best fighter at 126 right now. All right. I know Masayo has a good win over Gary Russell Jr. Well, he has a win over. Let me just say that. He has a win over Gary Russell. That's cool. But Navarrete is a guy at 126 for me right now. He's at number 20. We're going to start off with him. All right. I don't think he gets talked about enough. All right. Oh, is he going to 130? All right. If he is going to 130 and staying there, that's cool. Whatever works. But right now, I think he's going to be one of the most difficult fighters to beat. Whether he stays at 126, whether he goes to 130. His style, his awkward style, he's an issue. All right. A lot of punches. All right. A lot of movement. A lot of angles. And he can switch. Not the greatest defense, but got a hell of a chin, and he punches hard as hell. All right. 120, I don't think, at 20, I'm putting him at my 20 spot only because obviously there's too many good fighters on this list. There's too many good fighters that's done much more. All right. Number 19, Breedis. He fights tomorrow. All right. The only reason why I have him this low because I've had him higher, much higher than this. I had him right around the 10th spot before. I just want to see what he can do. There's a lot that's happened since he beat Junior Dorticos. It's a lot that's happened. So I had to keep putting them down. Some of these fighters are just down, further down, just because of inactivity and because there's other fighters that's doing much more. So I know what he's done. I know he's the best at cruiserweight. I know he gave Usyk his best fight. And I think technically sound-wise, he's still one of the best out there. But I don't know what he's going to do tomorrow night. I just did a breakdown for this fight. I have no idea how this fight is going to end out. A lot of people think he's going to lose tomorrow. It's very possible because I don't know what this kid can do to him tomorrow. Can't wait to see it. I will go on live early in the morning, Saturday morning, about 6 a.m. Eastern time. All right. Breedis is my number 19. Number 18 is going to be sort of controversial simply because I'm seeing where people are placing him at already, and I'm just not quite there yet. I want to see a little bit more, probably his next fight, before I put him much higher on this list. Bam Rodriguez. I have him at number 18. So Rungvisai, great win. One of the best performances of the year. Top 3, top 4 performances of the year. Easily. All right. Plus, he beat Carlos Cuadras earlier this year. Both great wins. 2 fights of the year. Two of some of the better performances of the year. But good performances for somebody that's moving up and very inexperienced. Hasn't really been tested. Good wins against guys that's kind of on their way out. At the end of the day, Cuadras, he's been taking a lot of L's. He's older, on the way out when they fought. Good win, but I still need to see a little bit more. There's people better in the division than those two. So Rungvisai, another guy on his way out, didn't look good since his last loss. All right. And he's been only fighting really poor quality fighters in between. I just want to see a little bit more from Bam. I know people are putting him in the top 10 already. I saw the fight. I was there. I was here with you guys watching the fight, or I did a review on the fight. I'm sorry. He looks like he's going to be top 10 in no time. As far as the eye test, I think he's going to beat Roman Gonzalez. I think he's going to be Estrada too. I just want to see it, though, before I move him up. If he beats Roman Gonzalez, if he fights him next, I'm most likely going to put him in my top 10, especially if he looks very, very impressive doing it. All right, so that's my number 18. So far, we got Navarrete at 20, Breedis at 19, Bam at 18. 17, have him down. Some of you are going to not like it, but I have Estrada down. Estrada has moved down my list simply because I don't think he beat Roman Gonzalez in the last fight. Great fighter, one of the top dogs, won championships in a lot of divisions, like a lot of the guys at 115, all of them. He didn't beat Roman Gonzalez, and I'm not going to give him credit for doing it. All right. I believe that Roman won that fight. He won the first fight as well. I know that they wanted the trilogy. I think that was a promotional thing. I saw a 117-111 scorecard on the judges. Even if you think Estrada won, that was a very competitive fight. There's no way Chocolatito only won 3 rounds. I'm not having it. Estrada, number 17 for me. And I don't know if we're going to get the Roman Gonzalez fight now because Estrada got other plans. He has to defend his title. I don't know when that fight is going to come. It's most likely that Roman Gonzalez and Bam Rodriguez is going to clash next. All right. So there. Number 16. Got the old man Triple G. Triple G. Triple G is in the number 16 spot. Number 16, Triple G, it's pretty clear. He's low at this point in his career because he's older. And even though he's accomplished so much throughout his career, as far as right now, at 40, I have him at number 16. Obviously, if he beats Canelo in the trilogy, he'll shoot right back up in my top 10. I had him in my top 5 for years. All right. But time has gone by. And even though he hasn't really lost clearly, in my opinion, even to Canelo, he hasn't lost clearly. All right. Hasn't looked that great. I'm seeing him slowly diminish with every fight. All right. Still very good. Still top tier. But again, there's too many good fighters on this list that are younger, fresher, and they're already been unified. They're already done what he's done. Maybe not as many title defenses, A lot of them unified champions, a lot of multi-divisional champions, you know what I'm saying? And then we have a lot of undisputed champions, current or in the past, that's done more. Triple G is at my 16. Number 15. This is the guy you guys all hate, but I have him in my number 15. Probably the most controversial out of all of them. Tank Davis. Yes, Gervonta Tank Davis is at my number 15 spot because Tank is, well, in my opinion, I think he has the talent to be a top 10 fighter. I think he's always been a top 10 fighter. The problem is Tank is strictly PBC. He has it for Loma. He has it for Ryan. I don't even think Ryan would even make him budge on the list, to be honest. But he has it for Haney. He has it for Loma. All right. He didn't fight Tio. He just don't have those fights outside of the ones that he, obviously he got good fights. Mario Barrios, good win. All right, good win. Jose Pedraza, great win. All right. Leo Santa Cruz, very good win. All right, because Leo is very accomplished. But I feel like we knew he was going to win all those fights. All right. Good wins, incredible fighter to me. We just need him to prove it. And he would be in my top 10 easily. But we just haven't had it. He's not taking any real risk. It's too business for Tank. Some of you will have him in your top 10 easily. Some of you won't even have him in your 20 because he's just not taking any risk. All right. But there's plenty of fighters that have had higher that I felt like was kind of the same thing. I was just talking about Mikey and his retirement. You know how long Mikey was in everybody's top 10 pound for pound for years with those wins. Tank, I feel like he has the ability to be a top 10. But he's going to be always outside of the top 10 until he fights someone that actually matters to me. Number 14, I have Vasyl Lomachenko. All right. I had him higher recently. I actually posted a top 20 maybe almost 2 months ago now. I had him in my top 10, but again, so many fighters have accomplished so much in the past month or two that I had to bring him down. He lost to Teofimo Lopez. He was able to come back, beat Comey, beat Nakatani. Very, good wins. I mean, as I say, very good wins. Good wins. All right. Solid wins, both wins. Nakatani, he's known from giving Tio a good fight. All right. Comey has always been known to give good fights. All right. But those are not those wins. All right. Those are not those really big wins. I want to see what Lomachenko does to Haney when they fight each other. All right. They're supposed to be fighting each other after the Kambosos Haney rematch. Unfortunately, we have to sit through a rematch of that, but whatever. Lomachenko is my number 14 because, again, as time goes on, these guys like him, Triple G, Breedis, these older guys that's been around, did a lot of stuff. They're not as active. And these newer fighters, these fresher fighters are just doing more for the most part. All right. They're doing more and they accomplish a lot more. So Lomachenko accomplished a lot. 3 division champ, unified champ, all of that stuff. Pound for pound, top 3 at one point. Right now, I got to see what he does when he comes back, whenever that is, because I don't even know now, because I don't know if he's going to fight Haney next. And this is post-Ukrainian war. All right. So I don't know where Lomachenko's at right now. I don't know, but you just got to wait and see. All right. Number 13, I have Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. He's at my number 13 spot. All right. One of my personal favorite fighters. And my favorite at 115. Okay. I think he is the most accomplished out of all of the fighters at 115. All right. Over the years. I think he's a star. I think he was the only fighter at those lower weights outside of course, outside of Inoue, that was in the top 5 for real. In his prime, he was a top 5 fighter. Um, I know he lost to Sorungvisai, but he was able to pick up some wins, some good wins, beating Martinez, a young, fresher Martinez. Martinez went up just like Bam did, but Martinez got destroyed by Roman Gonzalez. Got destroyed. I actually predicted Roman to stop him, but he didn't. All right. Roman Gonzalez and Bam might be next. And that will be a great fight. I can't wait to see it. In fact, I think that if Bam beats Roman Gonzalez in his very next fight, if he fights Roman Gonzalez in his I think Roman Gonzalez is actually the toughest out the 4 for him. All right. I think Estrada is the second toughest. All right. I think Bam beats Ioka. All right. So with that being said, Roman Gonzalez is my number 13 for now. All right. I think a win over Bam might put him right back in the top 10, depending on what's happening. All right. But the hype that Bam is getting right now, if Roman Gonzalez does beat him, if he beats him, he gets a lot of credit for that, especially at his age, and he gets moved right back in the top 10. Somebody's gonna have to fall out of that. All right. Moving on. Fulton. Stephen Fulton is in my number 12 spot. Young, fresh, cool boy Steph, number 12, unified champion. Obviously, he has to fight Akhmadaliev, which a lot of people feel, based on his last performance, he has a good chance of beating Fulton now. But as far as resume right now, I think he has the better resume at 122. All right. I thought he fought the tougher fighters up to this point. All right. He's unified. He's coming off a brilliant win against Danny Roman. Easily beat him, easily outscoring him. Could have been a shutout, maybe 10 rounds to 2 or 11 rounds to 1. Easy, beautiful performance. We've seen him do so many things. He can bang with you, or he can outscore you for 12 rounds. Whatever way you like it, Stephen Fulton is a potentially top tier or top 10 pound for pound. He's already on some pound for pound list. Not on mine yet, but he's the number 12 for me. All right. So if you're just joining us, I have Navarrete at 20, Bridas at 19, 18, Bam Rodriguez, 17, Estrada, 16, Triple G, 15, Tank, 14, Lomachenko, 13, Roman Gonzalez, and 12, Fulton. Number 11, a man that I had removed from my top 10 because of his last performance in a fight that I thought he lost, Josh Taylor. All right. The thing about that fight, I think is one of the worst of the decisions that we got this year so far. Josh Taylor, the thing is with Josh, I think he probably has the best, if not the one, maybe top 1 or 2 in the recent undisputed run. All right. I think his path to undisputed was tougher than just about everybody's. I think his in Usyk's is debatable. I'm going to go with Josh Taylor, winning the World Boxing Super Series and having tough fight after tough fight, and always found a way to win, always found ways to adjust. He could switch hit, but Jack Catterall beat him. All right. Clearly to me. I think I can't see Taylor winning no more than 5 rounds. I think 5 rounds is the top for me. 5. And the fact that he got dropped in a fight doesn't help. All right. It was a gift win. It happens with the best of them got wins on their record that I don't think they deserved. Josh Taylor has one. And I think it was a clear loss. He lost his last fight. And I hope, and he's been talking about running it back, I hope he runs it back. He needs to run that back. Because that's a fight I think he can win. But whatever was the game plan, it was not working. All right. He did come on strong in the later rounds, but he did not win that fight. All right. So I got him right outside the top 10 because of that. All right. Number 10, Devin Haney. Devin Haney was probably the most difficult to choose on where he should be placed on this list, because out of all of the undisputed champions, all right, I just don't know about the guys at 135. I just don't know. I don't know about any of us. It's not just him, it's everybody there, because there's a pattern on the way that these belts are won. There's a lot of guys that just haven't faced each other yet. And I really don't know who the hell is the best. And for now, I have Haney on top because he's currently the guy that's holding the 4 belts. He's undisputed. But unlike a Josh Taylor or Alexander Usyk or Terrence Crawford, or whoever else that has become undisputed in recent years, Jamel Charlo, I know what they went through to get there. Haney, and this is not to discredit him because I love Devin Haney a lot. I just don't know how he would look against Tank, Lomachenko, other fighters that's there. It doesn't matter. I think he might beat Lomachenko. Okay. I think he might beat Tank Davis. But those are 2 really good fighters that's on this list. And when they don't fight each other, it's like, I don't know what's going on, because he beat the guy that I feel wasn't the best in the division either. George Kambosos had a great, amazing performance. An amazing performance against Teofimo Lopez. But I also believe that he caught Teo on a bad night. And some people say that about Teo when it comes to Lomachenko, that he caught Loma on a bad night. Now, his win against Kambosos was clear, and it was a great win because of performance. He made it clear. Some people say it was a shutout. I don't think you can give Kambosos any more than 2 rounds. I think even 2 rounds is saying a lot. Kambosos never won a round clear to me against Haney. Any round that I gave him, the 2 rounds I might have given him were debatable. All right. Swing rounds. All right. So Haney is in my number 10. My number 9 is Dmitry Bivol. Why? Well, as far as talent, I think he's always been my favorite since the Kovalev, Stevenson, Ward era. All right. As far as what he can do, his boxing ability, very, very good. He beat Canelo recently. Great win. One of the best performances. He showed everyone how to beat Canelo. Canelo has not been outboxed that clear since the Floyd Mayweather fight. There's fights that people feel that Canelo lost, Triple G, Ruslan Lara, whoever. No, Bivol made it clear. All right. Bivol has also been successful in his own division for years. He's looked good there. He's got good wins. He beat John Pascal. He was able to stop Sullivan Barrera. All right. He was able to beat Joe Smith too. All right. Easily. All right. Got rocked a couple of times, but beat him pretty clear. So he's in the number 9 spot. But I have to put Better BF over him. And Better BF is at the 8. Because Better BF just destroys. Better BF is just, he makes, when Bivol schools everybody in the ring, Better BF just destroys them. It doesn't matter what I think about boxing, this, that, technique. Better BF is just a beast. And he's one of the best KO artists out there. I need them to the fight. And that's all I gotta really say. I can see Bivol beating him on points. If he can take the power and find a way to somewhat neutralize Better BF, or I can see him being stopped by Better BF. It can go either way. If that fight goes down, Better BF by KO or Bivol by a decision. I don't know. All right. I really don't know. I see you ask me, Chris, in the comments. I don't know. And that is going to be one breakdown that I'm not looking forward to because I don't know. But if I had to pick and it was a gun to my head, I would probably go with the Destroyer, Better BF. I would probably go with him because we knew like guys like Canelo has power, but Better BF is bigger. He's physically strong. All right. He can box very well, and his power is insane. All right. There's only a few guys in this list that has comparable pound for pound power to Better BF. That's Inoue and probably Jamel Charlo. That's it. Better BF has been a top 5 puncher for years. You know. All right. So let's go move on to now. Let's go down to the number 7 spot. I have Shakur Stevenson. In my opinion, out of everyone, I feel of the newer generation, the next generation, the eye test goes to Shakur Stevenson. This kid cannot lose a round clear. This is why he's so high on the list. He's not the destroyer that Better BF is. All right. But he knows how to box on a super mature level. He fights like the best, the greats fought in their 30s when they were seasoned. He fights like that at 23 years old. Shakur Stevenson is the next big thing. And I think he has the potential to be pound for pound number 1. We just got to wait and see him get there. But I think he has potential to be at least a top 3 pound for pound fighter for the next generation. When Crawford and Usyk and all of these guys are done, I expect Shakur to be up there. He has a lot of potential, and he has one of the best performances that we've seen this year so far. All right. And he's a 2-division champ, and he's already a unified one by beating the best guy in his division. He still got work to do, but I hope he stays at 130, become undisputed, and then move up. All right. Number 7 is Shakur Stevenson. Number 6, we get really different. Things get really difficult at this point because I think that these last 6 for me could have been switched around in so many ways. But my number 6, I have Inoue. I have Inoue at number 6 for obvious reasons. All right. At this point, he is clearly the best fighter at 118. He's not undisputed yet, but he doesn't need to be for us to know that. All right. He's beating the best. He beat Donaire twice, knocked him out crazy easily in the second fight. And this is after Donaire was coming off of wins, good, credible wins leading up to that Inoue fight. All right. At this point, Inoue, only thing I'm waiting to see is if he can do the same at 122. All right. Because I made a poll the other day. Not the other day, but probably a couple weeks back now. And I was surprised to see how many people voted for Inoue to beat Stephen Fulton right now. Inoue is good. He's very, very good, man. And pound for pound punching power is insane. Just like I was saying about Better BF. But I think Inoue is even more talented than him. Inoue is more talented with the power. More talented. It's just that I'm waiting. The one reason why Inoue is at number 6 and not at number 1 is because I still feel that the fighters above him fought better fighters pound for pound. That is the only thing that's keeping me from keeping Inoue on a higher spot. That's the only thing. As good as Donaire is, as good as he is, as good of a career he's had, I've seen Donaire at his worst for years. All right. And it's incredible what he can still do at his age. But I still feel that the fighters above Inoue now have fought and beaten guys that are better pound for pound. Again, It's not always about the accomplishments with me, because I understand that every division, it doesn't have the same talent as others. There are weaker divisions out there. 126, for example. 126 is just not a top tier division in my eyes. It's just isn't. 130 isn't either. It's just not. It's not a top tier division. All right. Moving forward, number 5, I have Errol Spence Jr. He's shown us that he's back, and he's just as good as he's ever been with that Ugas win. Very impressive win. I know a lot of people feel like the Danny Garcia fight was shaky. I didn't. I thought he looked good against Danny, but the Ugas stoppage was a good win. All right. He has been the best welterweight since the retirement of Floyd and Manny Pacquiao. All right. That's the reason why I have him up so high. All right. He is the best welterweight. All right. And has fought good fighters consistently. And he's one of the fighters that is the best conditioning, punching volume fighters out there. All right. He's one of the best out there. All right. Just got to wait and see what he does with Crawford. There's only one fight and to me, that's the best matchup that could be made at this point in boxing. As far as active fighters, that is the best fight that could be made. You know what I'm saying? So Spence, I have him above guys like Anui for the guy that just asked. I have him there because I like the opponent Spence has faced better, pound for pound. All right. Number 4, I have Jermell Charlo at number 4. All right. I love his transformation as a boxer to a puncher. He is the most improved boxer in all of boxing. The most improved. Not the best, but most improved. Okay. He's taken some losses. He's had a close call. But he was able to avenge the loss. He was able to win the rematch, stopping opponents. He's literally knocking out everyone at 154, and all of those guys are good fighters. Castano is a very, very good fighter. Very, very good fighter. And he was able to stop him. You know what I'm saying? Great win for Jermell. He's the thing about Jermell is that I still feel he's improving. I can't even say that he's reached his peak yet, because that Castano rematch showed me that he can do more than what I've seen from him in other fights. The gap between the first Castano fight and the second was huge. And I didn't know where that fight was going to go. Jermell Charlo is my number 4, one of the best KO artists in the sport. And he's going to go out and fight Tim Tszyu. I think they're trying to work on making that fight next. So if that's his first title defense, that's a great one. It's his mandatory, one of them. I would love to see him fight Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora. If we can get those fights, I would love it. All right. I don't have Spence over Jermell because I think Spence needs to be pound for pound for me. Jermell is pound for pound. And I think he actually fought like the best fighters, all of them, in his division. Like, he secured his division for real. And to be honest, and I'm going to have another talk about that. I'm going to save this conversation. I have a conversation, and you might be surprised at some of the opinions that I have when it comes to Jermell, Crawford, and Spence. But it's something I've been meaning to talk about. But I'm going to save it for another video because I think it's actually some good content. All right. Number 3, I have Canelo Alvarez. I moved Canelo from my number 1 to my number 3 after he lost to Bivol. Okay. He's still undisputed. What is he, a 4 or 5 division champion at this point? I mean, is it do I really have to explain why Canelo was up there? Again, I've had so many complaints about Canelo over the years on fights that I don't think he won. But this guy is consistently fighting. He's very, very active. He's fighting good fighters. He's become undisputed. He's multiple division champ. I just love the fact that he's active and he's staying on top of every fight. Like, he's not giving me every fight that I want, but he's giving me a good portion of them. And with that being said, I have no complaints with Canelo. No major complaints. Just little things here and there. Certain people I wanted him to fight that he didn't fight. But for the most part, he's probably the most consistent boxer of all of boxing, as far as the amount of times he fight and the quality of the fight. Not always who I wanted him to face. The decision didn't always go the way I wanted it to go, but he's the most consistent out of everybody. I can't say anybody else has been more consistent than Canelo Alvarez. I can't say it. And a lot of it is privilege because he is the star and he is the cash cow and he has the privilege to do what he wants. But even other fighters like a Floyd and even like a Manny Pacquiao, there were fights that I wanted to get from them that I didn't get neither. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way the sport works. All right. So I have him at my number 3. And number 2, I have Alexander Usyk. You clearly know who my number 1 is. Number 2 and 1 are Usyk and Crawford. I've switched around that because, you know, I personally put Crawford because I feel like I think Usyk has a better career as far as quality of opponents, for sure. Going up and beating Joshua, beating Chisora at heavyweight, and doing everything he did at cruiserweight. I know a lot of Americans might not be familiar with the people he's fought at cruiserweight, but he literally fought all the best fighters at cruiserweight. Not just in the tournament, but before the tournament too. All right? He even beat Michael Hunter. Like, this dude is legit. I think he has a better resume as far as quality than Crawford. But the reason why I place Crawford number 1, because I think Crawford's the best fighter in the world. I think if this was a fight between two guys in the same size, I think Crawford would beat him. And for that reason, this is why I put him at my number 1 over Usyk. Usyk is my number 2, clearly because of what he's done. But Crawford's my number 1 because I think he's the best fighter in the world, period. And I think he's been the best fighter in the world for a long time. I think he's the most versatile fighter. I think he could bang. I think he can outbox anyone. I just think that he's number 1. There's some people that I think will give him some trouble. Now, outside of Spence, I'll get to that in another video. But Terrence Crawford is my number 1. All right? So we're going to go down the list before we move on because I still got a lot to talk about in this video. We're not done. We're not done. So number 20, I have Emmanuel Navarrete. 19, I got Miras Bridas. 18, I have Bam Rodriguez. 17, I have Estrada. 16, Triple G. 15, Tank. 14, Loma. 13, Chocolatito. 12, Fulton. 11, Taylor. 10, Haney. 9, Bevo. 8, Beterbiev. 7, Stevenson. 6, Inoue. 5, Spence. Jamel 4, Canelo 3, Usyk 2, and Crawford number 1. All right. That's my list. Remember, this list can change every single week. All right. From the months of May or April to June, this list has been scrambled over. You know why? Because just about all of these fights, all these fighters did something, just about most of them. All right. Smash that like button. Yes, definitely smash that like button if you like the content, man. Definitely smash that. Now, oh man, let's talk about 2022. Oh, I love Boots Ennis. I just got I just can't put him in my top 20 yet. I just need a bigger win. You know, something on a level like Bam has done recently. And so as soon as he get that win, you know, maybe if he could fight Stan Jonas, or Conor Ben, if before getting a Bud or Spence, if maybe we could get a fight like that right now, then yeah. But I don't, or Virgil Ortiz, then yeah, but not yet. Not yet. I think he will be pound for pound up there too. I think he has the ability to get up there. All right. But I think out of the fighters that's actively fighting right now, I will say that I think that the new generation of fighters that I can see being a top five, because the top five is hard to get in. A top 5 or 6, I would say, I think Boots has potential to be there. I think Bam can be there, and I think Shakur could be there. All right. I said Shakur. Shakur is on my list. Shakur is number 7, I think. Shakur was 7. Those are the 3 fighters that I look at that I think are probably the most impressive younger fighters coming up right now. That I see, like, if their career can continue to be what it is, I can see them not losing right now. Like, especially if Bam is to fight Rodriguez next. I'm sorry, not Rodriguez. If he could fight Gonzalez next, I can see him already being in the top 10, just like Shakur is. But I see those 3 being a top 3 pound for pound, or top 5 pound for pound one day. Top 5, the 3 of them. All right, but it's too early to call it. Obviously Stevenson is much closer to that, but I think Bam could be very close if depending on his next fight. All right, I hope Bam is not going back down to 112. I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. All right, but we'll just gotta wait and see. But we'll see. All right, so look, let's talk about 2022. I made a list of different things that we're at for the year so far, because this has been a great year. And mind you, this year has been my favorite year in boxing in a long time. Why? Because of the quality of the fights, the KOs that we've been getting, the excitement that we've been getting. You know, we had a great Hall of Fame. Everybody's going back to live fights again. Like, I feel like we're back, but we're also getting good quality fights for real. Like, I feel like, the promoters still suck. You still got some network and politics mess that still hurts some of the fights. But for the most part, I'm very satisfied with what we've been getting this year, especially on a weekly basis. I'm very, very satisfied with what we've gotten this year. And it made me want to really talk about some of these things. I had to really dig and go back and look at the boxing schedule week by week this year to come up with some of this stuff, because I forgot about a few of these things. All right, so we're going to start off with the best fights of the year for me. All right, these are my top 3. These are my top 3, guys. So if you disagree or if you want to include other fights, be sure to let me know in the comment section, and we can talk about it in the comment section. All right, at this point in the video, we just gonna, I'm gonna interact with you guys in the chat a little bit. My 3 favorite fights of this year, in order, was Sebastian Fundora against Erickson Lubin. That was my favorite fight. That's my number 1. All right, my number 2 was Lee Wood against Mike Conlon. That was the number 2 for me. And my 3rd was Katie Taylor against Amanda Serrano. Those are my top 3 favorite fights that I've seen this year. Those 3 fights. The Fundora, Lubin, and the Mike Conlon and Wood fight was hard to choose between those 2 because there was so much drama in the 2 of them. But Fundora and Lubin was a straight war. Fundora was dominating Erickson Lubin early. I felt like Lubin came out with the right game plan. He was boxing better, and then he chose to fight an inside fight with Fundora. Fundora started picking up rounds, and then he dropped him. He hurt him, and then Lubin out of nowhere drops him. It was coming back. I don't know if I was live that night. I can't remember if I did live commentary for that fight, but I'm basing it on the level of excitement that I got. That fight did it for me. That was my personal fight of the year so far. As far as action, I would definitely take that fight and said, I would say, if you wanted to be introduced to boxing, that's the fight that I would like tell people to watch. Like, yo, watch this fight right here. You know, and I hope so. I hope Erickson Lubin recovered well, because his face was like the worst that I've seen this year so far. All right. How would Charlo and Fandora go? I think Charlo would knock Fandora out. And Charlo is a completely different fighter from Erickson Lubin, and I think that he would knock Fandora out. I think that fight is the fight that Fandora would lose at 154. All right. Lee Wood, Mike Conlon was crazy. Crazy. Mike Conlon was destroying him the first few rounds of the fight, outboxing him, hurting him, knocking him down. And then out of nowhere, Mike started to slow down. Wood started to come back, and he knocked Mike Conlon out, bro. Straight through the ropes. Crazy knockout. Crazy knockout. If you haven't seen that fight, please look up Lee Wood against Michael Conlon. It was a crazy fight. If you haven't, I know there's a lot of American probably didn't see the fight. Look up that fight. It's everything you want in a boxing match. Just like Fandora and Lubin. It was a crazy, and for a comeback win, that was crazy. Probably one of the best performances in of the year. You know, in fact, I didn't do a breakdown or anything, but I thought Mike Conlon was going to win the fight. All right. And then Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, of course, biggest female fight of all time. And it delivered. It delivered. It was a crazy fight. I actually regret not going live, but I wanted to cover the fight live. Plus, I wanted to cover Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. And that's the only reason why I didn't go. I regret not going. That fight was everything, you know, from Amanda winning early and hurting Kaylee, and then Katie coming back and closing out stronger. It was a great fight. We should have got a rematch, you know, but it is what it is. Great fight. Great fight. All right. Robbery of the year. And I talked about it earlier this year. For me, robbery of the year, and you know, there's a lot of robberies, but I'm talking about like standout robberies, bigger fights, names that we're, you know, familiar with. Josh Taylor against Jack Catterall was the robbery of the year. Again, like I said earlier, Jack Catterall won 7 rounds to me, at least, you know, 7 or 8 rounds, and he also dropped Josh Taylor. There's no reason why Josh Taylor should have walked out of there with them belts. Listen, I'm not a fan of Jack Catterall at all. I actually like Josh Taylor a lot, but I got to say it how it is. I got to call it out as it is. Josh Taylor did not win that fight. He did not win the fight, and they should be running that fight back immediately. We need to get a rematch at some point, especially if Josh continues to stay at 140, you know. But Jack got robbed that night. It is what it is, you know. It is what it is. I mean, I just don't know how Josh won more rounds. How can you give Josh more rounds? I know he came back, but that was robbery area, and that's the only one that I have on my list. You know, if you guys can think of any others, definitely bring it up in the comments. All right. But yeah, Fandora in a sense did dominate Lubin. It was the comeback and the knockdown that did it, the excitement, and he dominated. It was still very competitive. So I wouldn't say that he just dominated him. It was a great fight. You know? School is the best, says Jamel has fight of the year. You know what? That would be, I think that's a top 5, maybe. Also, really like, you know what? I didn't add, but it's actually one of my favorite fights of the year, even though like no one asked for it. I thought Luis Ortiz against Charles Martin was one of the best fights of the year. You know, I think we can add Jamel and Castano too. And I think we can add, I mean, for me, I love the Ortiz Charles Martin fight. That fight was great. Like just two, they're not the top tier, the highest level of the heavyweights at this point, but it was a good rumble between two guys, an older guy and a guy that wasn't never as talented. It was a good fight. We got knockdowns, two heavy hitters. It was a fun fight. I enjoyed the fight. All right. It was a night of just all heavyweights. Fulton, no, Brandon was, I think Fulton and Brandon was late last year. Let me check though. Good question. I'm gonna check right now. I think that was last year though. Yes, it was in November. It was in November. Yeah, Charlo and Castano's up there. It's probably in my top 5. I still have the other 3 ahead of that, but I agree with you guys. I agree with you guys on that one. All right. All right. So performances of the year. All right. This is very subjective. Um, I'm basing it on how the fighter looked against, excuse me, how a fighter looked against who they face, the level of the fighter that they face, and how dominant they were. All right. Whether it was by knockout, whether it was by, decision, it's all about the quality of the opponent and how good they looked against them. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. Oh, damn, I didn't put this one in order. My bad. So I'm just gonna name the 4. Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez, one of the best performances. I know Shakur was the favorite, but he clearly outboxed Valdez to a point where you can argue that Valdez didn't win a round. I think I gave him a couple rounds, but Shakur dominated him, schooled him, outboxed him, and made it look very, very easy. Walked him down at times. He beat Valdez and made it look easy. And Valdez is a very, very good fighter. You know what I'm saying? Very credible win. Bivol against Canelo. Obviously, someone said it already. Bivol and Canelo is the fight. That's the performance. Because Canelo Alvarez, in my pound for pound, he was number 1 in that fight. Bivol schooled him, outboxed him, and didn't struggle much. I don't think Canelo won any more than 3 rounds, in my opinion. I know the judges had it closer, which was expected, but I couldn't give Canelo any more than 3 rounds. It was 9 rounds to 3 for me. And even the rounds that Canelo won were swingish. All right. So that's definitely by far the best performance. You could make the argument that it's not as good because Bivol is a true 175 pounder and Canelo moved up. But again, it's still Canelo Alvarez. He does have a win against a former champion there. So you could make that argument, but again, it's against Canelo and it's about how he made it look so easy. No one has been able to make it look so easy like Bivol did. All right. Shout out to everyone in the chat, man. Please, if you haven't already, please smash that like button if you can. All right. Please smash that like button. All right. Also, Bam Rodriguez, I have to put him in. He's one of the top 4 performances of the year for me. One of the best performances. Against Saul Rungvisai, great performance. Was able to outbox him every round and stop him. I think I gave Saul Rungvisai 1 round. All right. I have nothing else to say. The kid looks amazing. And I know Saul Rungvisai is on his way out, same as Carlos Carges, but that performance was amazing, against a real puncher, the biggest puncher in that division. All right. Bam is a beast. He's a beast. He showed us his skills. His skills are just, and he's still so young. It's still so much more to go. Bam is very, very good. One of the best performances. Another performance, we already talked about it already. Jamel Charlo's performance against Brian Castano, one of the best performances out there. Such an improvement. So refreshing to see him improve so much since the first fight. Not only was he hurting Castano again, all right, leading up to that knockout, but he was winning rounds this time. This time he was winning. He was outscoring him, outboxing him. Not like the first fight. You know, a lot of people feel that Castano won the first fight. This fight here, he made it look like there was no first fight. And the first fight was a great fight, but this fight was even better. All right. Still very competitive, but Charlo was winning, you know, to me. And the last one, I think Stephen Fulton's performance against Danny Roman was one of the best performances too. As far as like round by round, just clearly outboxing Danny, it was great performance. I mean, just a clean performance. If you're just talking about clean boxing, speed, you know, counters, defense, you know, this was a different fight from the last two. Great performance from him. Also, Devin Haney's performance. Yes, Aaron, thank you. Devin Haney's. I didn't put this category order because it was just so many fights. Devin Haney's performance against Kambosos. Kambosos boxed so well against Tio. But Haney looked like, I feel like what Devin Haney did was bring Kambosos right back down to what we thought he was before that Kambosos fight. I mean, Teofimo Lopez fight. That's what Devin Haney did. Devin Haney made him look regular. You know, and I'm not sure what Kambosos could do in a rematch to change, because I feel like Devin was able to beat him without having to adjust to anything. He beat him just simply off a jab. You know, outside of a few right hands here and there, he didn't have to do anything. He beat him so easily. Like, I can just beat you with a jab. I don't even have to go in the same arsenal that I used against other fighters. Great performance from Devin Haney. All right. I made this out of fun. There's a couple of ones that I made out of fun. Just for fun. Worst fight of the year. I have two. These are my two least favorite fights this year. All right. Ryan Garcia against Emmanuel Tagoe. That was the worst fight for me. I don't know about you guys, but it was just the worst fight to me. It was a terrible fight. All right. Terrible matchup. You know, Ryan, who's very tall, not quick feet, against a fighter that had no intentions on boxing. He had no intentions on boxing. Okay. I didn't even think of Edgar Berlanga, Les. I didn't even think of him, but I see where you're going with that. Ryan Garcia against Emmanuel Tagoe was the worst fight. I think I did live commentary for that fight, and I was ready to go to sleep. It was terrible. Oh, everybody's saying Berlanga. All right, I guess Berlanga. But yeah, the Ryan Garcia fight, it was just a cat and mouse fight with a guy that was just trying to survive, and we had to see 12 rounds of Emmanuel Tagoe just running away from Ryan Garcia. There was no fight. It was 12 rounds of Ryan trying to hit a guy that was just avoiding him throughout the whole fight. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my number one. My number two, outside of, I know you guys are saying Berlanga. My number two was Mark Masayo against Gary Russell Jr. It was a terrible fight. And it had a lot to do with the fact that Gary Russell was fighting with one arm. You know? He had a shoulder injury very early in the fight. And what made the fight bad is that even with one arm, Mark Masayo couldn't destroy him. It was still competitive. Now, I know there was people out there that was trying to say that Gary Russell won with one arm. That's bullshit. He didn't win the fight, but it was still very competitive, and it was just dragging because Gary was limited and Mark wasn't doing anything to step him up. Mark still really couldn't dominate neither. It was just like another cat and mouse fight. Like Gary was just doing what he could with one arm. And Mark couldn't do any better than what he was doing. I think if Gary was 100%, he would have easily won this fight because Mark couldn't do much with a one-armed Gary Russell Jr. And it was just a terrible fight to me. You know? Terrible. No, he performed well. Listen, Aaron, I agree with you. He performed well. He did what he had to do with one arm. But what I'm trying to say is Mark was more of the disappointment because he couldn't even step it up. Gary was still outpointing him at points with one arm. And that's what made it a bad fight because we're not getting a full Gary. We're only getting half of Gary. And then we have Mark that he couldn't really take over like he should have. You know, to be honest, Gary should have been stopped. He should have been stopped if he's fighting with one arm. All right. Anline offline. I see your comment. Anline says, I'm picking Ray Vargas over Maxio. I am going to do a prediction video for that. All right. I was supposed to record it today, but I didn't have enough time because I did two others. I actually did Chisora and Pulev 2, but I didn't upload it yet. But it's done. I was going to do that 3. I was going to try to get 3 of them out, but I didn't have enough time. But that video is going to be done soon. All right. I think I might be leaning towards Ray Vargas, but I haven't done any film study yet. All right. So look out for that. All right. Look out for that. Triple G and Canelo prediction from Romania. Yeah, I didn't see your comment. I didn't see your question. What do I think? I think Canelo's gonna win. I don't know if he's gonna stop him, but I think Canelo's gonna win. That's all I got for you. That's all I got for you. What's good, Young Hollywood? What's good with you, bro? Everybody hit that like button, man, if you haven't already. All right. I have another category here that is totally random, but it's another one for me. I have a satisfying win category. I have 3 fights here that it was satisfying for me, or I feel like it was satisfying to boxing fans just because of the fighter was just being extra annoying. And yeah. Brandon, what's your comment, bro? I'm not let me see. Loma versus Tank. We as true boxing fans have been waiting for would be an exciting matchup. Tank says, well, Tank is a knockout artist. Loma's made multiple undefeated champions quit on the school. This is still the fight. No, it is still the fight. It will forever be the fight. It will be forever be the fight. It will never not be the fight. But unfortunately, I don't think the fight happens because the fight it could have happened. And I think both of them are going two totally different directions. You know? Outside of Spence and Crawford, which other fight I would still want to see? Well, I want to see Tyson Fury fight the winner of Joshua and Usyk. That's the only other fight I want to see as far as active fighters. As far as active fighters, everything else is in the heavyweight division pretty much. Because I still want to see Joshua and Wilder. I still want to see fights that have not happened. All right, but we could go all day. I mean, I'm gonna have to save that for another night because I can construct the list and make another like video just talking about this all night with you guys because this is so many fights that still haven't occurred that I still want to see go down. All right, so this is my satisfying win list. Number 1, and this is a big one. Number 1 for me, maybe not to you guys, and thank you, Brandon. Alexis Rocha against Blair Cobbs. Now, I know it's not a big fight, but that win was so satisfying for me. You know why? Because Blair was doing all of this talking Not about Alexis Rocha, about all these other fighters that accomplished much more. He was talking about Spence. He's been doing so many, like, he's like a guy that's in boxing, but he reminds me like of a Jake Paul, like a guy that he's a boxer, but he reminds me of a outsider for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's just like he kind of came out of nowhere, and a lot of his stuff was based off antics. You know what I'm saying? And I never thought he was a good boxer on a world level. I never thought he was. It was just so satisfying to me. You know what I'm saying? It was just, I love that win. I think we needed that win because I don't like when fighters, and I don't like Ryan Garcia because of that. That's why I don't like him. I think he's a good boxer, but I don't like him because a lot of things that he do is just based on him talking about other people to promote his fights. He's using other people like now, Canelo. He's just keeping Canelo's name in his mouth. I I don't like that. I don't like when people are just talking about their social media. I don't like it. And I understand that you got to build a fight and stuff like that. I understand that, but he is not taking any risk. He's taking very little risk. He's taking baby steps, and sometimes that's better for certain fighters because they need to improve. They're not going to get as good as others, but he's came up with a group of guys that's around the same age, and I still feel like he's being protected. And that's how I feel about Blair Cobbs. Blair Cobbs kind of came out of nowhere. He's talking all this stuff about other fighters that's much more accomplished, that's done much more. And when he got knocked out like that, because I never thought he was good in first, he finally fought a real fighter. Alexis Rocha beat his ass. And you know what? I was happy. It made me feel good because I don't want guys like him to just keep coming around, just coming out of the woodworks, and they're just getting known because of their antics. And them going, he ran up on Boots. Like, I like that he wants to fight other fighters and best fighters, but in his interviews, it just seemed like, slow it down a little bit, bro, because you're really not that good, you know? So that fight was very satisfying for me. Another fight that was satisfying for me, and I see you guys seeing Bevo beating Canelo was satisfying for me. That's cool. I totally get that. Hector Garcia against Chris Colbert. You guys probably forgot about that. And the thing is, I really like Chris Colbert. He's from New York. I like him. I think he's a good boxer. But man, he just could be so disrespectful to some of these other fighters. I mean, he's done some interviews where he's being so disrespectful from fighters that have done so much. You know what I'm saying? And when he lost, I hated the way he lost. It was like, as the fight was going, once he decided to just run and survive because he didn't want to try to win, it's like once he got dropped, he literally survived for the rest of the fight. I could not stand that. It made me so disgusted with him because the dude's from Brownsville, right? How do you go out like that? How are you going to let this guy beat you and you're not even trying to win? You can't be that flamboyant and be that way in the ring, especially when you're talking about all of these other fighters like the way he was talking. You know, when he lost that, I was like, you know what? Good. Glad he lost. You know, because I feel like he disappointed, and it's not the fact that he lost, it's how he lost and how much he talked leading up to that fight. He got humbled, and I think he's going to come back, but he got humbled that night. Very satisfying for me. What do you guys got? Haney versus Kambosos was very satisfying, man. Oh my God. That fight was very satisfying because I really like George. George made me a fan in that TO fight. Leading up to the fight, he seemed like a real cool dude. You know what I'm saying? Very fair. Even after he won, the interviews that he was given, he seemed to be very fair. And something told me, and I said this in the video, I said something told me when he has time to go back and talk to his team as far as moving forward about who he's going to fight, I have a feeling that he's going to change. And he did. And he was so arrogant in the presses and leading up to the fight. And it made me want him to lose more. I mean, I was already rooting for Devin Haney, but the way that Kambosos was acting, his behavior, it just made me feel like, bro, what happened to you? You turned into a different person overnight. Yeah, like you guys are saying, I'm reading your comments, man. Brandon says he caught that Teofimo vibe thinking he was unstoppable. Yeah, man. It's just, even with Tio, I think Tio, same thing with him, man. I mean, him running around Canelo trying to take pictures holding his titles. It was like a clown show, you know? Valdez losing after Conceição was satisfying. I'm sure it was because you know, a lot of people didn't like Valdez because of the T, you know, him failing the drug test. And then not even winning the fight. I don't think he beat Conceição. I think it was close though. I do think it was close. I didn't say that was a robbery. I think I picked Conceição like around the head. I didn't, you know, I do think that Valdez did come back. So I won't say it was a robbery, but I don't think Valdez won the fight. D, thank you for the donation, bro. Looking forward to Canelo Triple G 3. Yeah, I am too. Absolutely. CMP says Haney beating Kambosos was satisfying. Indeed, thank you again, man. Thank you always. You always leave drop donation. I appreciate it. CMP says Haney beating Kambosos was satisfying. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Tank versus Rolly was my third that I had on my list. That was satisfying because it's similar to it's similar to Blair Cobbs, you know. I mean, Rolly's an actual boxer, but you know, Rolly is much better than Blair Cobbs. But at the same time, it's just like I'm getting tired of the guys like with the antics, and they feel like they gotta act so weird to sell themselves, you know. And for him to talk that kind of trash that he was talking, and it did not look like he was comfortable, especially in the original press conference when he showed up with that fur on that he had, that vest thing, whatever that was. I was like, what is this guy trying to be? He doesn't look like, it doesn't look natural with him. You know, some guys are good at talking trash. Like Roy Jones was a trash talker, but he was good. You know, even Tarver, he was good. Like certain fighters just talk real good. They could talk a good game. You know, Floyd talked a good game. You know, I mean, but certain fighters, they knew how to back it up. And then there's certain fighters are looking like they're forcing it. You know? Yeah, Rolly is saying he won a rematch. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah. Les says, I don't think Cobbs is horrible, but 147 is a crazy division. From the prospects to the champs, he can't just compete with none of them. Yeah. And Alexis Rocha is a very good fighter. You know, when I saw that he was fighting that guy, I was like, I don't really know, you know, because people probably going to look at Rocha and see that he lost to Rashidi Ellis, but they didn't see the fight. They didn't know that Rashidi Ellis had to play it extremely smart and he had no room for any mistakes in that fight. You know, he won the fight clear, but Rocha is tough, you know. I remember covering that fight, and I thought Blair Cobbs fighting Rocha was just like, dude, I don't know if this guy is ready for any world level fighters. And he wasn't. All right, so let's move on. All right, KO of the year. KO, this one, I'm sure a lot of you guys gonna love this one because we can really go deep. It's been so many KOs this year. But my top 3 KOs of the year. My number 1, My number one is Joe Cordina against Kenichi Ogawa. That KO, that one punch KO where Ogawa was knocked out, flattened in the ring, was my favorite. It just literally came out of nowhere. Not only was I not sure, because I was contemplating on doing a breakdown for that fight, but I didn't know who I was going to pick, because Ogawa was the puncher. He's powerful. And then Cordina didn't really have the knockouts like that, but he's a good boxer. But I didn't know where to go with that. But when Cordina knocked this guy out and quick, that was the best knockout this year I seen. That was just crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy. Like, Ogawa got stretched out by a guy that on paper don't have the biggest punching power. He got stretched out. Just like that. Now Cordina's champ at 130. All right. Can't sleep on him, man. Can't sleep on that dude. I don't think he beats Shakur, obviously, but I do think he beats Gutierrez. But him stretching out Ogawa is my number one. Now, my number two is a fight that I spoke on already. Lee Wood knocking out Michael Conlan. Knocking him through the ropes was my number two. That was a tough one to choose between those two. That was like 1 and 2. I was trying to see where I was going to go with that. But Wood knocking out Conlan like that, especially on a comeback after being dropped, after being outboxed and dropped and hurt multiple times, Wood knock him out through the ropes was crazy. Dude, let me tell you something. When I watched that fight, the crowd was already crazy. It was a zoo in there. I could only imagine what it was like in the building. Like, anyone that was out in the UK that went to that fight live, that fight was crazy. That's a fight that I know whoever went enjoyed themselves. That was a good fight. Les says a lot of people saying Wood KO and Conlan out the ring is KO. Yeah. That was crazy. That's my number two. You can easily make that number one. My third is Tank knocking out Rolly. Yo, I think that was the funniest of them all. I think that was the funniest one. Because there was literally people arguing that the ref jumped in too early. And I'm like, yo, when they walked Rolly back to his room with his father, I don't think he knew where he was at. I still think that he was dazed for a while after the knockout. That guy had no idea what was going on. I covered the fight live, and let me tell you something. I was on live, and I was saying, from the look of his face, even when he was exiting the ring and everything, I don't think he knew what hit him. Like, he clearly, and let me tell you, Tank didn't even put that much power into that punch. He just caught him on a side where he didn't see it coming. He walked right into that. It's kind of like the Leo Santa Cruz knockout. Like, he did the same punch more than once and got caught and got KO'd. Charles KO was very good. Yeah, it was very good. Chris. Brandon says, as a boxing fan, I'm embarrassed to even ask this man, but I would love to know, since we are waiting for the actual fights, Jake Paul against Tommy Fury outcome. I honestly feel like Jake Paul is going to win the fight just based on confidence, man. I just don't feel like Tommy wants to fight him. I know Tommy's the boxer, but he's not that experienced neither. He's not that much more experienced if you really think about it. I have Jake Paul winning, man. I mean, if they are going to fight, I'm going to pick Jake Paul. And, I don't know what his fights, man. I still feel somewhat like a way like that. I'm not sure about his fights. I know right now that at this point, I'm not picking against him. I'm not going to pick against that guy. And not at this stage. All right. All right. So this is my last category. And then it's going to be good night, man. Because I'm getting tired. And I got to work very early in the morning. It's only one fight. Upset of the year. Upset of the year was pretty clear for me. Martin Bakole beating Tony Oka. I mean, he destroyed Tony Oka. And Tony Oka was a pretty decent favorite to win that fight. and Martin Bacoli destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him. I am so glad I stayed away from that breakdown, because that was another one that I wanted to do, but something just wasn't. I've never been that high on Tony Yoka, but I still felt that he would have found a way to win. And he got destroyed. He got hurt early, and it just didn't go well for the rest of the fight. Yes, and they tried to rob him. Yes, Les, you absolutely right. They tried to rob them. That fight was dominant. Dominant. Yoka only won like one round that Martin Bacoli was able to give to him and took a break. I think 1 or 2 rounds where Martin Bacoli actually took the round off. Those are the rounds that Yoka won. Yoka was not winning or in control of that fight at any point in that fight. He got dominated. Dominated. All right. Yeah, people were saying that, Loke. Absolutely. I don't think he won against Joe Joyce and the gold in the Olympics neither. I'm glad you brought that up, Sugar. I don't think he won that fight. I think Joe Joyce won that fight. All right. So, I mean, kind of got exposed, you know? All right, man. Listen, I'm getting tired, man. Dope live with you guys. Very dope live. We got a lot of things out of the way in this video, man. Again, if you are new, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already, on your way out, please hit that like, smash that like button for me. All right, and please share the video. I'm gonna have the Derek Chisora video out for you guys tomorrow morning. It's already recorded, but I'll have it posted tomorrow sometime. And early Saturday morning, I'm gonna try to jump on live and cover that Maris Breeders fight. All right. So anyway, y'all all have a good day, and plus have a good holiday weekend too. 4th of July, if you are celebrating, having fun, going out partying, doing whatever it is that you're doing, please just stay safe. All right, stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys on the next live. All right, peace. Have a good night.